require what we call all kinds of minerals. So they are critical, they are vital for this modern technology. Now, they also have applications in defense, space, and also in what we call even medical applications. And then what actually is critical, or what is the main issue that runs through, is that if you have a scenario, a situation where just one or two or few countries produce them or dominate the processing of the various, chain, then it becomes a very critical issue. So you see, all kinds of countries are rushing to sign bilateral and multilateral agreements, etc. And almost every country is developing a strategy to see how they can access this critical mineral. It doesn't matter whether you produce them or not. You understand that Australia has about 26 of them. They are fortunate. China practically controls about more than 90% of the rare earths that are used in these magnets and all these defense applications. And DRC produces over 2/3 of just one of them, cobalt. You see, so it turns out if, let's say, there's war or there's disruption to supply or any other activity that will affect the supply chain, it becomes a concern for everybody. So there's a rush, and then there's a race for it. There are several of them. What really comes to mind is the likes of lithium, that is used in rechargeable batteries, electric vehicles, and all these applications. And then you have nickel, very critical mineral. Copper, copper is so critical. Anything wiring, all these charging stations for electrical, it's all copper. Even the vehicle itself, you build it from aluminum. So then bauxite also becomes very important. Vanadium, zinc, lead, graphite. These are all examples of critical minerals.
And we found that we have them.
For now, in Ghana, we have we have manganese, also a very critical mineral. We have manganese. We have currently a mine producing somewhere in Western region, in Suta. And then serious exploration is going on in Savannah region at a place called Intreso and Seripe. So we have manganese. And then we have now found lithium in commercial quantities. So within a year or two, we have a new mine for lithium somewhere in central region. The geology is looking very prospective for lithium in other regions in Ghana, other remaining parts of central region, Ashanti and Co. They are eastern region, they are all prospective for lithium. So that is the second one that we have. And then we also have bauxite, a lot of it. Currently, we have one mine just like manganese, but then the entire Inai, Tiwa, and all those areas are full of bauxite. So that is that. We're blessed with some of them. And then there's also graphite. Graphite, we've done some, what we call it, discoveries, somewhere around the outskirts of Wa. So a lot of exploration is going on to really assess whatever we have to see whether we could do the way kind of thing.
What's graphite used for?
Well, graphite is also used, in the batteries in vehicles. Okay? When we were in school, we were told that it's used in lead in pencils, but they use it a lot in these batteries that are used in rechargeable, what do you call it, vehicles and electric vehicles.
In monetary terms, how much are we looking at? The potential for
you can't quantify anything now until you start producing.
Okay.
That is it. So to repeat, lithium, manganese, graphite, and bauxite. The potential to also get nickel and other ones are also there. It's quite, especially in a place like Oti. Once we put more money in exploration, we can do that. And these things require patience and time. It's not like, even farming. Even farming, the rains can fail you. So it's taking 6 years of aggressive exploration to bring this lithium project this far. So by and large, that is the issue. Now, maybe the question I need to also answer or touch on is what is driving all this craze. People need to understand where we are coming from. We live in a world where it is now, people doubt it, but it's generally been accepted now by scientists, by and large, that the temperature of the earth is rising, and it's catastrophic for all of us. Rising sea levels, global warming and all those things. So we need to do something. So I think the overall aim is that, look, temperatures should not go beyond 2 degrees. the best is to keep them 1.5. Now, what is causing this global warming is the kind of energy we use. Fossil fuel, burn a lot of coal, use a lot of petrol, diesel, and gas, and these things emit greenhouse gases. So that means that we will need to change energies that are cleaner. So you use more renewable solar, wind. You understand that? Maybe uranium, because you have to do nuclear, which is, it doesn't, create greenhouse gases. And then, of course, you have to stop using cars that rely on diesel and petrol and that kind of thing. So the norm now is electric vehicles. If you look at the figure for last year and then the year before, 2021 and 2022, there has been a 57% increase in the use of electric cars. So far about 10.6 million or so in 2022. And look at the commitments countries are making. UK says in 7 years' time they will stop using petrol and diesel. So that's 2030. EU is 2025. US in 7 years' time, Biden says that they want half of all new vehicles to be what? Electric vehicles. If you take China, which is the biggest car market in the world, they are also saying in 7 years' time at least 40% of all new vehicles, should be electric. Okay, so that means you stop using fuel. Maybe it will be left with those of us in Africa here. So no more petrol and diesel. Now, it means that you need more electric cars. Now, the data shows that you require 6 times more mineral inputs in an electric car than a normal conventional petrol that you have. So that's what is driving the craze. And you need a lithium, you need nickel, you need manganese to do all these things. So that electric car is just one. And then these are mobile phones that we use, flat screen, fiber, optics, and then the cables, and then semiconductors, and all these new technologies. They all use all these minerals. You understand? Rare earths, the magnets. So that is what is driving the craze for them.
What's the mining process? And I ask because once we are thinking of going green, we are thinking about the impact on the environment. And we know the lessons that we have learned, or we ought to have learned from gold mining. How is that informing the process as we are at this stage of the conversation with critical minerals?
Tema, we have come a long way, not just as a nation, but the entire mining world. Mining can be done and done responsibly. Even in Ghana here, there's a place in Western region, and I'm planning a tour for almost all the journalists in Ghana. If we take you people there and then you realize that, look, mining has once taken place here, you won't believe it. They finished mining and the place has been planted with economic trees. So it can be done and done responsibly. That's all. We just have to make sure that we enforce our rules.
And what rules would that be? When it comes to these critical mines, for example, how are they being prospected different from the kind of mining?
It's the same way. Look, bauxite, we've been mining bauxite since 1941. How many years now? That's about 83 or so years now. 41. And the entire bauxite is even in a forest reserve since 1941. Do you understand that? Yes. So we just have to make sure that, look, they post their bond, they reclaim what they now call concurrent reclamation. As they mine, they reclaim. So the way they do the prospecting is a normal, conventional prospecting that we do. How you look for copper, gold, and coal. It's the same thing. That is, it has to be done and done properly.
Because of the demand, as you've explained to us, for where the world is going, are we thinking export, or are we thinking of building systems that would mean that we would have the capacity to also produce some of these things, these technologies of the future?
My answer is very simple. Australia, like this, look, they had a critical mineral strategy in 2019. They replaced another one, 2022. Now I've just chanced upon a new discussion paper. They are developing a new one again, 2023. I mean, within a space of 3-4 years, they are having a third strategy. Okay, EU has developed a strategy. A lot of jurisdictions in Australia have also developed a strategy. So we are also going to develop one to ensure not just we just mine them, but also we tap into the entire chain. So the processing and co, we have to make sure it's done here, because there's more value, okay, in relying on the downstream processing than just digging the stuff. We're tired. I mean, the way we've done this gold and other minerals in, we will not end there. Okay, there's a wisdom in the present getting GIADEC and GIZEC established. It's just to ensure that iron ore and bauxite are processed locally. So we do the same thing here. If you take the deposit in a way, the beauty is that there are three things contained in there. Apart from the lithium, there is Feldspar, which is premium. Feldspar is used in ceramics. So Twyford, for example, that factory that makes ceramic in central, what you call the western region, they will need it. So clearly, the Feldspar will not go out. We'll use it here as a raw material for the ceramics industry. If the existing ones don't buy it, we'll set up another factory there, because it's one out of the several minerals that are used in the ceramics industry. Kaolin, and we get the kaolin from the bauxite, kaolin, limestone, clay, and Feldspar. Then there is also quartz that can be used to make a glass factory. So out of the Ewoyaa project, we're going to get premium Feldspar and quartz, which will be used locally here as a raw material. If the quantity is enough to support a glass factory, why not? One will be created there, and then they can also benefit from 1D, 1F. They can do so for the Feldspar. That is, other than that, there's ready market for the Feldspar. There are a lot of ceramics factories around. They can use that. So that is not going out. I'm trying to answer your question. Then what do you do to the lithium? We got to get it processed here. Do you understand that? We have to do it there because there's more value. You either produce the carbonate or hydroxide. And if the lithium spodumene is about $6,000 or so, the processing, the hydroxide or the carbonate is 10 times the cost of producing it in a raw form.
Are we building these simultaneously?
Yeah, we are putting all the policies in place to ensure that we benefit. We have learned our lessons the way we've handled gold for the past 100 years or so. Trust me, we're doing that. I sit atop the institution that runs the regulatory, part of the mining industry. So I know what I'm talking about. Why? We should export the parts.
Building the factories, the establishments that would be in charge of making sure that it's not just raw material that we are sending out, but we are able to add the value to feed.
You don't just get up and build the factory. If you want to build, and then that is the in pay, that's how, and I always say this, we are also not patient as a nation. Not everybody. Maybe because we don't understand that. You don't just get up and build a factory overnight. You got to look at your energy cost, even location. You got to have some critical, product. We can even set it up here and other people can bring theirs here and come and refine. So for you to ask somebody to come and set up a factory, he needs to be sure that, yes, the factory is building one, there's a certain quantity that can feed it. Two, the energy cost, it's okay. Because you see, why import this thing? If this same thing can be done here 5 cities, why import it if it will cost you 7 cities? But if it will take you 5 cities, you can import the same thing 1 city, you import. So you got to get the economics right. You understand that? So sometimes you hear people saying that, we shouldn't, export these things or etc. We get that, but you don't just get up and set up. Look, if you want to refine bauxite, you need a lot of power. The question is, do we have that? And if you have it, is it possible for the person to get it at how much it will cost maybe Alcoa or any of those countries that do refining? You need to do all these things and put all these things in place. For us at Minerals Commission, we're putting together some, discussion paper to ensure that this Ewoyaa thing benefits us very well. Okay? I've already told you about the Feldspar and the quartz. We are not going to export them. We have markets for them here. Twyford uses the the Feldspar they get from these small scale miners around Shaman. Okay? They just dig it and sell it. This one here is premium. So we are having raw material to even resource other industries. So then that will change the narrative we have over the years that, look, we are tired of just producing these minerals and sending them out raw. We will need to have a link between mining and industry. And this particular project should be one of them.
I'm excited about those possibilities because the business opportunities abound in that field. What do you have to say to those who are not in proper mainstream mining, but what opportunities they could tap into with the coming on board of some of these critical minerals that we are discussing today?
Tema, I've been saying it when we started our discussion on local content. I think I made it clear to you that don't be so obsessed, not you as an individual, but people should not be obsessed about coming to Minerals Commission and pick up a mineral right or a license to explore and mine a mineral. There is more money to be made in the support services and actual mining. So, for example, they are telling us that this project will cost 125 million. Clearly, they'll be giving out contracts for somebody to do the mining. They will need people to supply fuel. They will need, certain services like medical facilities on site. Do you get that? And other supplies. So Ghanaians should get ready. Do you understand that? That's the kind of thing you are talking about. Somebody will be doing the contract mining for them. Somebody will supply fuel to the company. Somebody will also provide other services. There will be medical facilities for the staff and quota to be there. So these are the areas where people need to position themselves. So what I'll do is that once we finish the discussion, maybe in the next 2-3 segments on the critical minerals, we shall revisit. This time around, I'll style it opportunities in the mining sector. And then we'll discuss what is it that people can do other than getting into mining itself. Okay. So the doctor has just won a contract. He has a company at one of the companies in Western Region to provide medical services to 800 staff. That is it. He's not a miner. You understand that? After we took out the foreign companies, that doctor set up a company. He's not a mining engineer. He has not got a license to explore a mineral or mine. But he's been given a contract by a mining company to provide medical and health facilities to 800 staff, on site, including spouses and children. So this is, for example, an opportunity. So for our brothers who are medical doctors, there's an opportunity here. What they need to do is that it shouldn't be an individual affair. You need to set up a company. You can be the sole shareholder, but have a few directors and co. So there's opportunity, let's say, in medical services. Those who want to do contract mining, there's opportunity. Those who want to supply fuel. And thankfully, these are services within the last 2-3 years we have now reserved for Ghanaians.
So the local content and local participation regulations that we've discussed a few times at this table, they apply to these critical minerals?
They all apply. They all apply. So we're going to do that. Maybe in the next 2-3 weeks or so, we'll start a whole topic for like 1 month, because that's what people want to hear. What are the opportunities available in the mining sector? Okay, and if you ask me, I'll tell you that the mining sector is the most vibrant sector in Ghana today. You just heard the governor about a week or 2 weeks ago saying that the first 2 months of this year, receipts from export was $1.8 billion. Gold alone is 1.1 billion gold. We've not even added manganese and other minerals. So at least more than $1 billion of the 1.8 comes from mining. So that reinforces the argument I keep making all the time that mining is our DNA. There are a lot of opportunities there. So let's revisit that topic. Okay? And one way of creating opportunities is using the local content rule. So having discussed a lot of issues around local content, I think let's make the topic broadly and say, look, what are the opportunities that are available in the mining sector? Then we'll take everybody through it one after the other. I've just mentioned medical. So if we have not been diligent and we've not done our work very well, like these medical services will have gone to a South African company. Okay? So those Ghanaians that won the contract, I drove off my heart for them. Where they may give medical services contract out, or they may hire Ghanaian doctors. It depends on the size of the company. More often than not, they give these things out as services. They prefer it that way. Cardinal, they're going to have medical services. Azuma, they're going to have it. Almighty, Hafunov, which is a $1 billion project. Newmont alone has around 10,000 workers. 10,000 people to be taken of when it comes to medicals. Their staff strength is about 1,200. If you had a half of when it's done, their spouses and children, because medicals cover your spouse and children. And the reports we have, they have anything between 8,000 to 10,000 people that will be under medical cover. You understand? So you can imagine how much money they spend every year on medical facilities, or how much they're going to spend on these 3 big mines. Achim, Ahafo, South, and then Ahafo North, which will be ready in about 2.5 years. put all this together. So if we have not been very diligent, a South African company will have been running medical facilities for Newmont, and then they'll be taking so much money, handling nearly 10,000, people undercover. So the rules have changed. We are changing the rules. I don't want anybody to say, you didn't see this years ago. It's better late than never. But sometimes we saw them, but we didn't have capacity. We have to admit. Okay? Some of these things, we didn't have capacity. But because of the opportunities, Ghanaians have done themselves. Look, this year, it's just this year. So barely a little over 3.5 months. Or if you say barely 4 months, then we added the construction of tailing support facility to the list. So that means until 1st January this year, South Africans, Australians used to come and do this thing. So the one in Cardinal, over $30-something million, the Ghanaian has gotten it. Newmont has just advertised for a new tailing storage facility. The advert is running. Okay? It's running now. And Ghanaian is going to do it. Thankfully, because of the job the Ministry and Minerals Commission has done. If we have not put it on it, they were going to give it to Australians or South Africans. And it's going to cost millions of dollars. So we need to do a lot of education on these opportunities. So between now and end of the year, I'm here. And I'll see whether or not we can even do twice a week. Because it's either we do twice a week or we do an hour. Like the way you gave the, what do you call it, those guys from UPSA. Yes, if we could do an hour, it's difficult to get me twice a week because of my schedule and the busy nature of my job. We'll try and work
out the findings.
Yeah, so if we can get 1 hour, we'll discuss. And I'm sure very soon you resign your job from your job and say you want to go and provide a particular service in the mining sector.
Mr. Martin Kwekwei is the CEO of the Minerals Commission, joining us for this chat on critical minerals. You can catch this whole interview on the Minerals Commission's social media handles. They're on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also on Instagram. Just look for Minerals Commission Ghana. We've also been streaming on our platforms, GTV Ghana. The next chat is about the gospel music industry and some of your favorite stars and hours in that space have taken their seats to help us understand everything that goes on in that industry. And we'll be having that chat right after this break. Stay with us.